In this video, we're setting sail on a journey through time to reveal the astonishing feat that earned a Brazilian sailor the title of the greatest in history. Back in the 1980s, long before GPS and satellite tracking were standard, this daring navigator defied the odds and accomplished something so bold, so legendary, it reshaped the world of sailing forever. We'll explore not only what he did, but how he did it. What kind of courage, skill, and sheer determination does it take to achieve the unthinkable on the open sea? From navigating treacherous waters to relying solely on instinct and experience, his journey is a masterclass in seamanship and human resilience. This is more than just a story. It's an inspiring look at the spirit of exploration and the legacy one sailor left behind. We'll break down the challenges he faced, the tools he used, and the impact his voyage had on generations of sailors to come. So grab your life jacket and settle in, because this epic tale of perseverance and precision will leave you inspired. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the greatest stories from the seven seas. Ready to find out what made this sailor a legend? Let's begin. The morning of March 16, 1980, dawned clear over Salvador Bahia, the air thick with the scent of salt and anticipation. On the docks, a small crowd gathered, their voices a soft hum against the lapping waves. At the center of it all stood Aleixo Belov, a 37-year-old engineer with a dream that had simmered for 15 years, to sail around the world alone under the Brazilian flag. His vessel, the Três Marias, a 36-foot sloop, bobbed gently, ready to carry him into history. This was no ordinary voyage. It was a test of skill, courage, and endurance, a solitary dance with the sea that would etch Belov's name among the greatest navigators of all time. Aleixo Belov was born on January 9, 1943, in Marefa, Ukraine, during the chaos of World War II. His family fled to Brazil when he was a toddler, settling in Bahia, where the ocean became his playground. As a teenager, he learned to dive, his love for the sea growing with every plunge into its depths. By his early 20s, inspired by tales of sailors like Joshua Slocum, the first man to sail solo around the world, Belov set his sights on a circumnavigation. He was not a professional sailor, but an engineer, methodical and determined, with a mind honed for problem solving. His preparation for the journey was meticulous, though constrained by a modest budget. He taught himself celestial navigation, poring over nautical charts and practicing with a sextant. He studied foreign languages, English, French, Spanish, to communicate in distant ports. He even wrote to newspapers, securing a deal to send dispatches from his journey, a way to fund his dream and share it with Brazil. The Três Marias was the heart of his endeavor. Belov built the boat himself, a Bruce Roberts design with a fiberglass hull, over 3 years from 1976 to 1979. At 36 feet long and weighing 8 tons, it was sturdy but unassuming, designed for long-distance cruising. Its single mast carried a mainsail in Genoa with a smaller jib for heavy weather. A 50-horsepower diesel engine provided auxiliary power, though Belov relied primarily on the wind to conserve his 200-liter fuel supply. Freshwater tanks held 300 liters, a precious resource for a journey where resupply could be months away. He installed a manual desalinator, a critical modification for producing drinking water at sea. The electrical system was basic, a battery bank charged by a single solar panel, a forward-thinking addition for 1980, when such technology was rare. Navigation relied on traditional tools, a sextant, compass, chronometer, and paper charts, since GPS was not yet available to civilians. For communication, he carried a shortwave radio, used to receive weather updates and send messages to shore. Safety equipment included a life raft, flares, Coletes salvavidas, and an early model EPIRB, though its range and reliability were limited. Inside, the Três Marias was a study in efficiency. A narrow bunk doubled as a seat, a small galley held a 2-burner stove, and storage lockers were packed with canned goods, rice, and dried fish. Belov had reinforced the rigging for single-handed sailing, adding self-tailing winches to manage sails alone. The hull was double-layered in key areas to withstand impacts, a precaution against debris or uncharted reefs. Every detail reflected his engineering mindset, built on a budget of less than $10,000, scraped together through teaching and small jobs. The boat was not just a vessel, it was an extension of Belov's will, named for the 3 stars of Orion's belt, a celestial guide for his journey. As the Tres Marias left Salvador, the crowd's cheers faded, replaced by the rhythm of the sea. Belov's route was a westward circumnavigation, a 14-month odyssey covering 46 ports across 3 oceans. His first stop was Natal, a 400-mile shakedown to test the boat's systems. From there, he sailed to Trinidad and Tobago, entering the Caribbean's warm but unpredictable waters. The trade winds pushed him forward, but the solitude settled in, heavy and unrelenting. Alone, he was captain, navigator, and crew, responsible for every decision, every adjustment. The sea was vast, its horizon unbroken, and the Tres Marias a tiny speck in its embrace. The Caribbean leg demanded constant vigilance. Squalls could erupt without warning, forcing Belov to reef sails in darkness, the boat pitching under his feet. Navigation was a daily challenge. Using his sextant, he shot the sun at noon, calculating his latitude with a pencil and notepad. At night, he took star sights, cross-referencing with his chronometer to determine longitude. Clouds often obscured the sky, leaving him to rely on dead reckoning, estimating his position based on speed and course. A single error could lead him off course, toward reefs or shipping lanes. Yet Belov thrived on the precision, his engineer's mind finding solace in the mathematics of the stars. Crossing the Panama Canal, he entered the Pacific, a new world of endless blue. The leg to the Galapagos was calm, the island's stark beauty a brief respite. But the Pacific was fickle, its moods shifting from glassy stillness to roiling storms. Belov sailed through the Marquesas, Tuamotus, and Tahiti, each port a milestone in his journey. The Tuamotus were particularly treacherous, a maze of coral atolls where a moment's inattention could spell disaster. He navigated by sight during the day, anchoring at night to avoid unseen dangers. The solitude deepened here, the silence broken only by the creak of the boat and the whisper of waves. At night, under a sky ablaze with stars, Belov felt both insignificant and invincible, a solitary figure bound to the sea. In Rarotonga, he paused to restock, the locals' warmth a balm for his weary soul. The Cook Islands were a haven, but the journey pressed on. Sailing toward New Caledonia, Belov faced the Pacific's full might. The trade winds grew erratic, and swells rolled in, testing the Tres Marias' strength. He adjusted sails constantly, balancing speed and stability, his hands rough from hauling lines. The solar panel kept his radio alive, a lifeline to the outside world. He sent dispatches to Attarde, his words painting a vivid picture for readers in Brazil. The beauty of a Polynesian sunset, the terror of a sudden squall, the quiet joy of a clear night's sail. The Torres Strait between Australia and New Guinea was a bottleneck of strong currents and shallow waters. Belov navigated with extreme care, using his charts and compass to thread the needle. The passage was tense, the depth sounder his only guide in waters that could ground him in seconds. Clearing the strait, he felt a surge of relief, but the Indian Ocean awaited, its reputation for fierce winds and towering waves looming large. The Indian Ocean was a proving ground. Belov sailed toward Bali, then onward to the open sea, where the weather grew unpredictable. Storms were frequent, the Tres Marias climbing waves that seemed to touch the sky. Belov stood at the helm, lashed to the boat for safety, his eyes scanning the horizon for signs of worsening weather. The radio brought warnings of gales, but he had no choice but to press on, trusting his boat and his skills. The solitude was at its peak here, the nearest land thousands of miles away. He spoke to the sea, to the stars, finding comfort in their constancy. The Tres Marias was his world, its every sound a language he'd learned to understand. In Cape Town, South Africa, Belov found a moment to breathe. The port was a hub of maritime activity, a chance to repair and resupply. The Tres Marias had held up remarkably, its fiberglass hull unyielding, its sails weathered but intact. Belov checked every system, from the rigging to the desalinator, knowing the Atlantic crossing would demand everything he had. He wrote more dispatches, his stories now tinged with the weight of months at sea. Brazil felt closer, yet the journey was far from over. The Atlantic leg, from Cape Town to Rio de Janeiro, was a homecoming of sorts. The trade winds were familiar, the currents less hostile, but the ocean never relented. Belov maintained his routine: daily sextant readings, hourly log entries, constant checks of the sails and helm. The solar panel, a modest 20-watt unit, kept the battery charged, powering the radio and a single light in the cabin. The desalinator, hand-pumped and slow, produced just enough water to keep him alive. Every system was critical, every task a ritual of survival. On May 23, 1981, after 14 months and 46 ports, the Tres Marias sailed into Salvador. A small crowd greeted Belov, their cheers a faint echo of the journey's magnitude. The Brazilian Navy honored him with a diploma, recognizing him as the first Brazilian to circumnavigate solo under the national flag. At 38, he was weathered but unbroken, his face lined with the story of the sea. His book, A Volta ao Mundo em Solitario, published later that year, captured the essence of the voyage. The technical precision, the emotional highs and lows, the unbreakable bond between man and ocean. The journey was a masterclass in seamanship. Belov's use of celestial navigation, shooting the sun and stars, calculating his position with nothing but a sextant in tables, showcased the power of traditional skills in an era before digital aids. His engineering background shone through in the Tres Marias' design, from the reinforced hull to the solar panel that kept him connected. Safety was paramount. He carried a life raft, flares, and an EPIRB, though he never needed them. His desalinator, though slow, was a lifeline, and his meticulous maintenance, checking rigging, sails, and engine, ensured the boat's reliability. Emotionally, the voyage was a crucible. Belov faced solitude that could crush the spirit, yet he found strength in his purpose. He wrote of the sea's beauty, its terror, its ability to teach humility. The Tres Marias was his companion, its name a nod to the stars that guided him. His love for the ocean, born in his youth, carried him through moments of doubt, when the horizon seemed endless and the wind unforgiving. The legacy of Belov's circumnavigation is profound. He inspired countless sailors, proving that a modest boat and a determined heart could conquer the world. His later voyages, 2 more solo circumnavigations and 2 with students, built on this foundation, but the 1980 to 1981 journey remains his defining achievement. The Tres Marias now rest in the Museu do Mar Aleixo Belov in Salvador, a testament to his courage. His story echoes the voyages of Slocum and other maritime legends, rooted in Brazil's seafaring culture, where the ocean is both challenge and home. Belov's journey teaches us to prepare diligently, to respect the sea, and to trust ourselves. His navigation tools, sextant, compass, charts, are relics now, but their lessons endure. Precision matters, adaptability is key. His safety measures, life raft, EPIRB, flares, remind us to plan for the worst, even when hoping for the best. His solitude speaks to the human spirit, capable of enduring the unimaginable for a dream. Now we turn to you. Have you ever faced a challenge that tested your limits? How would you prepare for a journey like Belov's? What safety measures would you prioritize at sea? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep the conversation alive. Until next time, keep your course true and your heart bold. Fair winds.